And we do have our Continental Marshall patches.
Very nice.
So, folks, we are continuing and proceeding with all of our activities. We're bringing forward our claims. We are almost daily publishing more information, more insight into the situation. We're seeing more about the international bank fraud that we've suffered. We have been right on it. It's a lot of work for relatively few people. And I admit that my own work schedule has become just as beyond all belief. And with Harold in recovery mode at a rehabilitation, well, basically a rehabilitation halfway house, an assisted living sort of situation where people who have suffered injuries recover, okay? And with Jim in the hospital again, with a hip fracture, I'm kept constantly busy. So the on me is unbelievable. But with a little help from my friends and neighbors, and you all, one way or another, we get it done. And we'll continue to get it done because we have to get it done because there's no choice. We all have to work together. We all have to back each other up. And we all have to do everything we possibly can in our own good cause. Because otherwise, what they had planned for us was that this entire country would be depopulated just like China has been. And they would move in and take over.
Well, that's not going to happen.
Well, sadly, they killed more people with a hypodermic needle than they could have ever killed with guns. And they did it in a way that didn't cost them any casualties. They deployed and used uniformed officers in their oxymoronically named civilian military to deliver the shots. And yes, there's a reason why we call them shots. And this criminality by commercial and municipal corporations has just been fully realized by senior members of the court system almost 5 years after it began. And it's taken that long for the hidebound, slower than molasses justice system to wake up. You see, these commercial corporations can act very quickly. These commercial, especially the military side of it, can react with the swiftness of a striking snake. But the municipal corporations are considerably slower, and all of the things piled on top of both of these power structures that call themselves judicial organizations are stuck in molasses stasis. It's very difficult to get quick decisions out of the judicial system in this country, unless, like Mr. Trump, you have the ability to go in on an emergency basis to the high courts. That's why it's taken us 21 years to process all these things through the high court levels, instead of 6 months or a year.
Well, on that note, I did just want to back up for a moment to the indemnity bond, if I could, Anna.
Sure.
And in the instructions, it says that the banks, the commercial banks, will process either it as a credit debt swap or a mochi. And so,
Yes, they should. They should.
okay,
They can write it off as long as you don't have to pay it,
right.
or they can process it as a mochi. And the ones that are most benefited by a mochi, of course, are the British territorials, because that actually pays down a portion of their debt.
Mm-hmm.
And if enough of us did this, then just the accounting might drag them out of debt.
That would be interesting. So the point being is that it's the bank's responsibility to process the payment or the credit debt swap or the offset. It's the bank that
Right.
will take that action, and the bank will then inform, for example, the seller who illegally and unlawfully sold the home under foreclosure, they will have to correct their records and give the title and any other information back to the original owner, man or woman. Do I have that correct?
Not necessarily.
Okay, let's talk about what should happen then.
Okay, there are two pathways the bank can take.
Okay.
They can write off the debt as a discharge, just, straight off the top, and the whole thing is gone, as if it never was, leaving you in possession, right? Or they can go back through and they can do a mutual offset credit exchange exemption, which is a debt swap, which is whatever you owe them against whatever they owe you. Okay, so say that you had a $300,000 mortgage and you still owe 75,000 on. Okay, so they owe you 225,000. You owe them 75,000. You can exchange the 75 that you still owe them against the 225 that they already owe you. And it can, it will reduce their debt to you and it will obliterate your debt. Either way, the debt gets gone. The mortgage is gone. Now you need to understand what a mortgage is. A mortgage is a debt that you agree to pay off for a dead person. This is something that comes from Europe. It's not American. It's never been a tradition or part of our custom in this country. In this country, our custom is that when somebody dies, the executor of the estate follows their will as much as possible and pays off any outstanding debts of the estate. So, for example, Fred dies. Fred's a friend of mine. He has named me as executor of his estate. Fred has a house, he has a car, he has a collection of beer steins, whatever. And out of the sum total of his collected estate, he has phone bills, he has a credit card debt, he has utility bills, and things of this nature that I, as the executor, am expected to pay off for Fred, right? To keep his name in honor. So right off the top, I take care of all those kinds of bills. And then I sell his estate holdings. And, I sell his house, I sell his car, I sell his collection of beer steins and whatever else, and wrap it all up as, here's this cash amount that goes to his heirs, his son and his daughter. So I, as the executor, write a equal amount check to each one of them, which is his will. And okay, we're done, right? That's the way it's supposed to work in America. In Britain, you can inherit debts of people that you don't even know. Okay, so what happens in Britain is there's a property and you want to buy it, but the property is in deep debt to the queen. And so in order for you to buy it, you have to pay off the mortgage before you can actually talk about buying it. And so what happens is if you accept the mortgage on the place, and say it's a 30-year mortgage, you grind your way through, you keep meeting your payments every month for 30 years, you get the mortgage deed, and you have a big party, right? You go out in the backyard, you set up the incinerator, you get ready, you and your wife pull out apart the mortgage document and you drop it in the flames, and everyone has a big party. You paid off the mortgage. Oh, well, congratulations. You just paid off the queen's debt. Good work, little slaves and minions. And now you've gotten beyond the point of being considered a tenant of Her Majesty, and you are now a future lease purchaser. And you have a presumed future lease purchase agreement. But somehow nobody gets around to contacting you and saying, oh, well, now you've graduated from being a tenant to being a leaser. What do you want to do about it? Do you want to buy this property or not? And if you want to buy the property, well, you can't do it today, even if you had cash in hand to buy it, because we don't have anything that rates as real money. All we have are these euro notes. And so you can't really buy anything. You can purchase it, but you can't buy it. And that's why it's a future lease purchase agreement. So after 30 years, you've just paid off the queen's debt. You still have to buy the house. And in the meantime, they just kind of quietly agree not to bother you anymore. That's what goes on. And that's what they've instituted here, on the presumption that your property was actually in a public trust administered by the king or the queen of a non-existent company, as it turns out. Can we all say fraud? Let's F-R-A-U-D, F-R-A-U-D. I mean, fraud. This is so outrageous that they've done this and actually gotten away with it. It's beyond imagining. And yet they have. People haven't asked really what a mortgage was. People thought, oh, a mortgage means what I have to pay off in order to buy the house. But no, a mortgage means that somebody else already has a huge amount of debt on that property, and that before you can even talk about buying it, you have to pay off their debt first. And the irony is that none of this was ever American debt. It was all British territorial and Roman municipal debt that was never authorized, that they never had any right to place against our assets, except for more fraud against us, misidentifying it as misidentifying us as part of their citizenry, and thereby misidentifying our property as property that was part of their public employee trust.
So then, I guess coming back to a man or woman who is trying to resolve a foreclosure, they go to the bank, and the bank makes their decision on how they're going to resolve the situation. And then what should the man or woman expect from the bank?
They should see that the proceedings against them are dropped,
Okay.
and that the account is zeroed out, And if they have any sense, they will go to the bank and demand the escrow account. They
And
will ask that the escrow account be paid back to them.
right.
Because every damned penny that you've put into that mortgage under false pretenses is yours. And if you don't claim it, the bank will wait for a period of years, and then they will come and they will say, gee, well, we don't know who Peter M. Malthus is, but all this money was left for him in this escrow account. We're claiming it as abandoned funds.
Okay, so they should get a zero balance statement.
Right, they
And
not just as balance statement, they should get a zero,
payoff.
Paid in full or
Yep.
settled in full is the correct words.
Okay,
Settled in full, and they should get the title to the property, which is
okay,
after all a British title, right? And then they should reconvey that title to the land and soil. And once they've done that, they should do their own survey apart from any public easements, just excluding any adjoining public easements from the property. They should find their own meets and bounds or cadastral survey description of their property, and they should rename their property and record the reconveyance and the name change and the new survey with, in this country, the Department of Natural Resources. And that way you've done unto them what they tried to do unto you. You have redefined everything, put it in the proper jurisdiction, renamed and relabeled it so that they have no attachment to the name. And what they're stuck with is what they're stuck with, the public easement and their description and name and number of the public easement.
gotcha. The corporate overlay, the
Right.
address that they.
Well, just
Right.
imagine the typical lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got the typical city lot, and what is it? It's a rectangle, okay? It's probably around 2/3 of an acre. And it has a curb and gutter sidewalk going in front of it that represents the public easement, goes from the back edge of the sidewalk all the way out to the middle of the street in front of it. And in that public easement, you have the utilities. You have water, electricity, sewer, all that stuff, okay? It's probably coming right up the middle of the driveway. So you have a utility easement that reaches all the way to the house, right? So when you do your new version, your new survey, you're going to want to exclude the public easements. You want to say that you are specifically excluding the public easements and that you are claiming and attaching all other hereditaments of the property. And then you're laying out your basic ground print. So you don't have to try to mess around trying to figure out exactly where the sewer pipe is coming into your house, okay? You don't have to worry about trying to define exactly where the electrical easement is, right? You can just say in words that you are excluding all public utility easements and road easements adjoining your property. And then you're describing your property very simply. Okay, I am placing boundary markers at the northwest, south, and east corners of my rectangular property. The distance between the northeast corner and the southwest corner is blah. You just mark it off or use a large one of those giant tape measures that are used for doing land surveys and making construction footprints. And you can pace it off even. The traditional method is to pace it off. I don't recommend that because obviously I'm short and Shannon's tall. So we have a considerably different pace. But, you know, it's not really that difficult to set some boundary markers and measure between two stones or two steel rods driven into the ground, or, you know, two piles of rock. You can do it. It's not that hard. You can do it easily. A couple of hours out muddling about on a fine fall day. I guarantee you, you can get this job done to the sufficient uh, standards. And you just write it up. You describe your boundary markers. And from that moment on, you finally own your property and you've separated it from the Queen's estate.
Very good. Now, if they are paying property taxes, do they take that to the auditor and the auditor is required to do the offset?
No, again, you take it to the bank. And the bank is responsible for discharging the debt, paying it.
Okay. And is the bank that holds the note?
Well, you have no idea. You know, what you do, you have the bill. You go to them, you say, I need a bill. I don't need a billing statement. I need an actual bill detailing the current condition of this account. I need an account statement, not a billing statement. Okay, so then you have the account statement, which is the actual bill, right? You now know that at this certain point in time, this was this much. And you give it to the bank, or they give it to the bank, and you say, this is for settlement of the account. So the bank gets the up-to-date, up to the moment amount. They discharge it or they mossy it. And the collector, you know, the tax assessor in this case, has to zero out the account. It's basically discharged or it's debt swapped. And either way, it's not your responsibility, it's their responsibility.
Right, right. Okay, and then if it's IRS taxes, how do you handle that?
Same thing. You
want the
you just-
billing, you want the bank statement, the account statement.
You want the account statement, and they're going to bulk because of course they don't want to come up with any kind of accounting that they can be held accountable for. Okay. But you ask them for an account statement. They'll send you back a voucher, which they won't honor. Okay. In most cases, they won't honor it because they don't know how. The vouchers come back in and the people that get it at the front desk don't know what to do with it. So their instinct is to go and say another frivolous filing. But no, it's not frivolous. They're just ignorant. They don't know which office to send it to. Okay. So really the safest thing to do with that is to send it directly to the office of the commissioner and just kind of eyeball him through your writing that, by the way, I'm not a citizen. I'm not domestic to your version of the United States. And I'm naturally exempt from all such claims. And I'm eligible for a mutual offset credit exemption exchange or a discharge of all debts ever held against my good name. And he knows how to get in touch with the Treasury. He can discharge it.
Right. Well, we were commenting on the coordinator call that it would probably be a good idea to CC Scott Besant on the any of the information that is being sent with regard to the indemnity bond, just so he knows what's coming down the pike.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
The office that we have to deal with is an office within Treasury, and it's the replacement office of the old comptroller. It's not the comptroller anymore. They've changed the name again, moving the cheese.
Okay,
But our adept people in New York found out exactly where they're hiding or trying to hide.
okay.
And so I can send you that information too to add to the war chest.
Thank
But
you. That would,
no, there's a special office that deals with foreign. We're considered foreign, remember,
gotcha.
with foreign indemnity issues.
Okay, that would be very helpful.
The best thing that I saw all this week was the military telling us that to go forward and enjoy it because we earned it.
Earn what? The indemnity bond thing?
Yeah, that we have earned relief and release, and the honoring of our exemptions. We've earned it by our own efforts to self-educate and our efforts to bring forward our claims and all the work we've done over the years. We've earned our exemption.
Good. Yeah, our exemption and six generations prior.
Well, right, and speaking for those of us who've earned it, there are a hell of a lot of other people out there that stand to benefit because we did earn it and because we shared our long journey with them. And so I'll just say a few words here. We're getting people who are contacting the bank and being very belligerent and saying things that reek of an entitlement mentality. And I want to make it extremely, extremely clear that the people that have worked on the bank since 2007 have done so as volunteers, just as the people who have worked on the Federation have worked as volunteers. And they don't owe you Jack Diddley. They have done it for you. They have included you. They've made your place at the table available, and they've done it free willingly out of their own good will toward you as their countrymen. But they don't owe you anything. They are not being paid to provide this service. They didn't ask you for a dime, and you didn't provide a dime to create the bank or pay for the services. So among all the other ugly things that you need to check at the door is this leftover indoctrination and assumption that other people are there to serve you and charge you for the service. This isn't what this is. That's not how our government works. And so realize that all this has been done by people like me, perched on their little stool in the basement in the toad hole for 7 long years, spending their extra hours and their money on sending out notices and keeping files for you and bringing forward claims for you and doing all this work and including you all in it for free. And just because it was for free doesn't mean it didn't come at a cost. So speaking for everybody at the bank and everybody at the Federation and those people who are loyally manning the state assemblies, nobody's entitled to anything that they didn't directly earn themselves. For a lot of you, it's just a free gift. And I will also point out that I have never charged anybody for any of the work I've done. I've never charged anybody any share in the court case. I've never charged anybody for any of the templates. I've never put a strict copyright on my work. I have never done anything to obstruct anyone's ability to make use of the information or prevented anyone from getting the information they needed to reclaim their birthright. Ever. 100% free. Available to all. Okay? So you know, when people have done this out of the goodness of their heart and included you, coming up with this entitlement attitude that, oh, you're not doing it fast enough. You're not doing it with all these bells and whistles. You know, your presentation isn't nearly as polished as I would like. You know, why did you use cartoons in a book for adults? All these criticisms, petty little criticisms, and you know, entitlement attitudes of, you know, I'm, you know, the queen bee and I should be serviced before everybody else. And you know, why isn't the bank giving me a complete and total, uh, you know, access to my account and blah, 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 blah. No, no, people. This has been set up as a gift to you. You didn't earn it. Other people earned it, and they included you because they thought it was unfair not to. So everybody get their heads together and realize that all those AFD in your accounts and all of these court actions and all these claims and all these mailings and all this stuff that's going on is being fronted by other people. And you're being included in the receipts and the benefits. But you're not entitled. It's not like we're all a bunch of public employees getting our money from the government teat and we're not being paid to serve you, okay? So I don't want to hear any more horrible stories about people calling up Global Family Bank and ranting at them and abusing these volunteers who are doing absolutely everything they can to speed along the process. Because of course they get paid at the end of the day too. So they want everything to be, they want to access their accounts. They're not holding back. All right. So no more abuse of the people at the global family banks. That's just not appropriate.
Well, we shouldn't be abusing anyone. I mean, we have experienced enough abuse to go around already. And,
Yeah.
you know, let's just all work together.
Right. Well, and realize that the people that are doing the work at the global family banks now, there are very, very few customer service representatives.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 9/10 of the people there are computer geeks.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And if you get one of them and start yelling about your account being messed up and it's because you changed your email address, guess who gets low marks for good sense yelling at them?
All right, Anna, thank you for that reminder. We are 5 minutes after, so we've got to wrap up. Was there anything else that you wanted to share this evening? There's so much going on.
Yeah, well, hugs and kisses to everybody. I mean, the most important thing that makes our world go round, it makes it possible for us to live, it makes it worthwhile to live, is the love that we give each other and that we share. Whether it's love for nature or love for a person or love for a cause, whatever it is, love. That's really the answer at the end of the day. And I know we've heard that since we were little kids. Oh, love is the answer. Well, the hardest thing in the world is to really put that in play and engage it in our daily lives. It's so much easier to be spiteful and resentful and to sit on our pity potties. And we all have lots of things that we could point to and, you know, be fully justified in being sour and mean-spirited and ungenerous. All of us have our excuses. All of us could dwell on the past. All of us have things in the present that are just mind-bogglingly difficult, okay? But the only way to overcome that is to reach deep inside yourself and find the compassion and the love and the patience and the endurance. And this is coming from somebody who's had to do it for 50 years, okay? You have to dig for that daily and just keep on going.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of digging and not, you know, you and your toad hole, but there were people all over the world that, you know, came together and had a little piece of that puzzle. we took that little piece and put it with the other stuff and, you know,
Yep, it was very much a group effort from a lot of people. And, when the military comes back and says, enjoy your exemption, you earned it. Well, there's a lot of people who earned it. But there's a lot more people who never participated in any of that who stand to benefit. Just as the people that fought the Revolutionary War suffered and earned it. Yet a lot of others have benefited from their sacrifices. So,
absolutely.
let's just show some appreciation and some gratitude and some happiness and some patience and realize that these people that you're talking to at the Federation and at the Global Family Bank and at the Assembly, they're not your lackeys. They're your equals, your countrymen, your brothers and sisters. Okay, so I wanted toning down and just sort of some sort of recalibration of what the relationships are, because I hear too much of the old indoctrination, the thought that these are your employees and you're going to give them hell. No, there's nobody here who's your employee. Your employees, the ones that need to be given hell, are out there. They're the representatives of the federal government and the federalized state of state organizations who have admittedly defrauded, denigrated, and disserved you for many years. It's not us, it's them. We're just your fellow countrymen here doing a job, okay, as volunteers without pay.
Yeah, and we're turning around and lending a hand.
Right, exactly. Be
Or
kind to yourselves. Be kind to your fellow assembly members. Be kind to the people at the Global Family Bank. Be kind to the people who are running the Federation. They deserve all of your support.
Thank you for that, Anna, that reminder. And with that being said, we send our love and our gratitude for all that you, your family, and your team have done. It's an incredible body of work. And we've got all of it available, as you said, for free on the American States Assembly .net and also on anavonrights.com.
Right. There's no commercial rats here.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And I hope you have a wonderful week. And we send our love and our healing energy to Harold and to Jim.
Yes, and I hope you all send what you can in terms of shekels also, because we have more work to do than we have ever had and less to do it with. I don't know if it's because everybody is struggling, trying to, put aside extra money for, just disaster preparedness, or if people are scared or what. But, we've noticed that there's been a real collapsing inward. And you don't want to collapse inward. You don't want to be afraid, not now. You want to expand your reach. You want to push your power. You want to, let your voice expand into the void at this moment, because this is the time frame when everything starts to really come push to shove. And when we really push out the foreign interests. The collapse of this British Merchantman's Trust, the Admiralty Trust, and the collapse of the American infant dissident estate is going to accelerate, and we have to be on our toes to actually make good on all of this.
Yeah. And we're not giving up, we're not going away, and we're not taking no for an answer.
Nope, not going to cheat me out of my share of Wisconsin.
No way.
Okay, guys, have a great week. Go to your happy place if you can. I
God
told
bless
Terry
them.
my new happy place was my bathtub with bubbles.
Yay! I'm so glad that that's on your horizon.
Well, if you go 5 days without a shower and you're still in the same clothes, it's a commentary on just how busy you are.
For sure.
Okay,
Enjoy
guys.
the bubbles.
I went on a camping trip and never left the house. Take care, guys.
See you later. Take care. God bless. All right, folks, there we have it. Thank you so much for joining us. I send my love and my gratitude to each and every one of you. Have a wonderful evening. God bless and good night.